Buenos dias, everyone!
The court has returned from recess, and now we can read the comments. Without further ado, let's go from a courtroom to a studio. Studio 8558 to be precise.
This is a close call. Easily enough, both sides have a huge faction to them. Bill and Ted's time travel schemes would be useful if properly ordained and utilised, since numerous incidents and plans would fall out. As well, Mandy's experience and intellect is a major boon, considering she has gone through court cases like this before. Both have stupid and smart players on their sides, with true intelligence and manipulation being too hardy to play into the factorization. What? Why? Possession to play one stupid is what Billy is useful for, but he's also a big thorn, since he is easily the stupidest of the main four cast characters. He will be a massive pain to handle and keep shut from ruining their cases. Chances, not cases! From ruining their chances. Honestly, I'd have to give it to Mandy and Billy for 3 reasons. 1. Mandy's mostly superior intellect and experience in these situations will be too handy and smart for Bill and Ted's side, no matter who it is to reflect on. Yes, time travel is very handy, but the duo have never really gone into much depth to utilise the true benefits it wields. Getting sick of this guy. Big words. But the duo haven't really gone that much in depth to utilise the true benefits it wields. Besides, if Mandy learns of its practicality, they can find a way to get into said time machine. Yeah, that's really bad for Bill and Ted. 2. Mandy's side is a grim outlook and focus on life, with bizarre and abnormal as their normal, and the pessimistic and hurtful nature of both Mandy and Grim playing a big advantage with Dracula's personal liking chart, not to mention the multiversal bit for God and how Dracula hates it with a burning passion. And 3, a point that none of you disclosed was how they use their Reapers. Sure, Bill and Ted's own is technically their slave, but he never really does that much violence and or malicious actions, playing guitar, helping solos, playing games, etc. And he does it with a smile on his face. Grim, on the other hand, is treated more like an own pet, being forced to do morbid deeds and actions, all the while degraded by unintelligent / mean-spirited actions directed near or at him. That didn't even make sense. After all, you showed the clip of Billy making him cry.
Oh, Billy, why you gotta be like that?
Even feeling as too smart to deal with his nonsense in numerous cases, not on numerous episodes, no. He's more of a slave than the slave itself, which is a more fitting showing of Mandy being able to own the Grim Reaper by herself, and I guess be Billy's safeguard.
You got some word of the day calendar or something? Just feels like I'm listening to Ribbit's argument again through a pipeline. In the first episode, I never mentioned how Mandy's darker outlook on life could actually be a detriment to her. Dracula at heart isn't evil. He just believes humans are in the wrong and must do villainous acts. Mandy is more proof that humanity is not pure, as opposed to Bill and Ted, who are good boys who created world peace.
I will say that Billy and Mandy treating Grim the way that they do is a possible argument. Like, if Rufus goes, "We own death in this fine print," Mandy could always bring up that they basically treat Grim like a slave. Other than that, the other points are ones I've already brought up, so I obviously do think those points are valid.
Well then again, at the end of the day, when this whole thing is said and done, Dracula needs death as much as possible. I'm sure Death taking a day off every week to perform in a rock concert is less demanding than having to hang out with Billy and Mandy and do their dishes every day, but I'm getting ahead of myself. This is an interesting case, and I gotta say, I love that Castlevania is a part of this. So I have to side with Billy and Mandy for this one, for a couple of reasons that kind of boil down to one mega reason. Grim, thanks to his powers, can warp reality, use telekinesis, possess people, and manipulate their souls. So Grim could easily remove Bill, Ted, and Rufus' souls, or mind control or possess them. Any of those options would give them a winning edge. We do know that Mandy has wielded Grim's scythe and his powers, so it's likely she could do the same here. Add in Mandy's time-stopping powers and intellect, and this is an easy win for the kids. Or there's always the fact that Dracula would see Mandy wielding Grim's scythe and would be impressed by her, then giving them to the win. So no matter what way you slice it, Billy and Mandy should take this. Do you mind passing whatever you're smoking? Why the fuck would Grim steal their souls mid-court case? There have been an indefinite amount of times in Billy and Mandy where Grim could have solved any problem by just killing them. And this is assuming he'd even have his scythe. I'm 90% sure if you were convicted of murder and pulled out a gun to prove your case, it wouldn't work.
Grim isn't being convicted of murder. If Bill and Ted have their big-ass time machine in the room, maybe Grim is allowed his scythe.
But would he use it? Would Dracula allow that? Do you know why kids love the delicious taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
I do know you're running this into a corner and deflecting from the actual argument with Mimi's. Next comment.
Billy and Mandy win because they have the power of Irwin's yo!
Well, Dracula is the devil, and he hates God himself, so Bill and Ted...
Shut the fuck up, Tim! Oh my god!
The real debate is the Tim and Gunslinger.
Irwin has no dominion here. He copied my yo! I trademarked that like the Fine Bros.
Okay, nobody read this, so I as the editor, I'm gonna read it. Thanks, Irwin comes in and snaps both of them out of existence.
I would like to mention that I have a severe distaste for the quantity of Irwin-based comments.
1-0, crisps, bangers and mash, cunt. I'm sorry, I'm being really mean. Next comment.
Don't worry, Brandon. There's nothing wrong with taking after Gunslinger. Oh no. Do I read Biffweed's comment? Oh no.
Yes, Ribbit, you gotta be the one to read it.
I think Brandon was supposed to read Biffweed's comment, maybe.
No, Brandon didn't record himself reading it, so it's gotta be you.
I'll keep my fingers crossed.
No, goddamn!
I'm gonna have to side with Bill and Ted on this one. They've got a far stronger claim to death as a whole, rather than a single being. Plus, Billy is going to actively make it harder for Mandy to win this case herself. Even if Billy does possess someone on Bill and Ted's side, that will be something that can make a difference. He wouldn't get a good chance to pull it off with everyone in the courtroom seeing it. And even if he did, it would be obvious to Dracula that he was missing. So either way, it's gonna backfire. One thing that never got brought up in here is the say that Grimm or Death himself has in the case. Whether you go with Death or Grimm, I think they'd both wind up siding with Bill and Ted. Death due to the mutual liking he has to the two, as Brandon already said. But Grimm has taken opportunities to ditch Billy and Mandy before, and only went back on those decisions when they ended up in danger because of it. This would put the pair in no such danger, meaning Grimm has no incentive to stay with them. Ribbit seriously did argue well, and he made this seem closer than I initially thought, but I'm gonna have to side with Bill and Ted. Despite how badly it hurts to go against the side that has Wiggy Jiggy Jet and Fred Burger. That's pretty funny. Fred Burger.
Okay, a good few of your points are just ones that Brandon already made, so I'm going to skip over that and say Grimm's say on the matter is kind of weird because all the deaths are fused. But Grimm himself has shown to care for Billy and Mandy before. One time, when he got separated from them, he was so bored that he went back and got them. It's not like he actually hates them, he's just a pessimistic person who has those sort of thoughts in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, this scenario is really confusing. Thanks, Ducko. Both deaths can make good points for their sides, but they're also fused? I don't think it's overblown that, at this very exact moment, Grimm is just spiteful towards Billy and Mandy for some reason. Though I will say, in comparison, Bill and Ted have a more tightly knit connection, and one that, again, isn't as demanding and won't interfere with Dracula's agenda.
Well, I think that Billy and Mandy wins, cause Mandy is easily smarter than Bill and Ted, and could manipulate Rufus, as she is also pleased as Mandy will do anything to achieve victory. Also, while Bill and Ted have a time machine, so does Billy and Mandy with the universe remote. The remote is much better mobile use than Bill and Ted's time machine, as it's just a controller. Mandy's smile could rewrite reality to make it so God intervening would be pointless, as he will be rewritten as well. Mandy has way more experience in a court case than Bill and Ted. Mandy has also shown keep Billy from doing things stupid, such as Mandy has also shown to keep Billy from doing things such as tying him up and keeping bricks around him, as shown in the Billy and Mandy episode. We're stopping Billy and Mandy from using Grin's Psyker to just send Bill and Ted to another dimension. Billy and Mandy have constantly wielded it. Billy could possibly reason with Bill and Ted's version of God. If a bunch of idiot teens could convince him, certainly I believe Billy can. Especially since Billy has shown feats of clear thinking at times, and his stupidity can work in his favor. So Billy and Mandy, FTW!
The main point here is that Billy and Mandy have the remote that can travel through time, making it a little harder for me to consider Bill and Ted's time travel a deciding factor.
A one-time remote is your linchpin for winning the debate? Hear that? That's the audience slow clapping. That's a good point.
Okay, Brandon.
Yeah, okay, that was mean. I'm sorry.
Next comment comes from the Chipmunk's biggest fan himself, Max.
Who is getting the best head?
Okay, I gotta read my own comment because Brendan didn't read it. No, this is a good workout for me. It's fine. While both arguments were excellent, and it pains me to go against the side that has Wiggy Jiggy Jed, I'll side with Bill and Ted on this one. I'm saying this on the basis that Bill and Ted's music legitimately created world peace. Do you understand what that means? Some of the worst scum in the universe, mass murderers and such, were so moved by Bill and Ted's music that they stopped trying to kill people and allowed world peace to happen. It's my opinion that Bill and Ted could sway Dracula with their music, and make him side of Bill and Ted. And don't go saying there's no singing in court, because Billy and Mandy sung Keeper of the Reaper in their episode. I also would think that if Dracula actually asked the Reaper who he'd rather go with, he might just pick Bill and Ted on the basis that, while Grimm has grown fond of Billy and Mandy, they still do treat him like garbage. Billy even once made Grimm cry. Bill and Ted were nice to death by the end, and he was clearly having a good time playing music with them. Although, if Billy's dad gets called up to the stand, gets naked, and starts making out with himself...
Dad?
Can't you see I'm busy, Billy?
But it's important!
What is it?
Well, that might just change my, and Dracula's, mind. But since it hasn't happened yet, in my opinion, the most excellent one should reign most triumphant here.
Well, you are right that Billy's dad is quite attractive. I personally believe that the whole world peace thing is, if anything, proof to Dracula that humanity can't be saved. There are still people who are out for Bill and Ted's heads in the future. Not only does this mean that world peace doesn't exist, but it also means that it likely won't even work on the monsters from Castlevania. Also, I might not think Dracula will appreciate Billy and Mandy too much anymore. I don't know if Dracula would want death going soft by doing music.
Billy's dad is a Chad, unlike to Chad Warden. But I think the big thing about the whole world peace is that Bill and Ted align with good. They attempted to create world peace, and that says more positive things about them than negative. 9 out of 10 dentists recommend every toothpaste, but that one dentist that says it SUCKS doesn't mean it's not good.
I think some people forget that, while Mandy's pretty sadistic, Billy and Mandy have saved the world on more than one occasion. I'd argue they've done this more times than Bill and Ted even.
And they continue to bully that MacGuffin that saved the world. Plus, Bill and Ted are trying to create peace throughout the universe, and through past and present. Verse Battle Wiki tells me that's more impressive. Oh boy, here's a big one.
I'm making a semi-serious comment this time. Surprisingly, I initially was going to go for Bill and Ted, as time travel is a potent tool to have on your side. As they could, among other things, go directly to certain times and show off direct evidence to witnesses. They even had it down so much that in the second movie, they just had to say they already time traveled and fixed things instead of showing them actually doing so. But the fact that they're supposed to be the saviors of the world, and yet we don't live in a timeline where they and the band of rock and roll is the most important thing in the world. What the fuck? And the upcoming third movie further throws this into question. Basically, being about such a situation, as far as I can tell, puts me into some doubt about the effectiveness of their time travel usage. On the other hand, if something goes wrong for Billy and Mandy, even them dying or being erased from existence, they seem to not even have to do anything for things to be fine, relatively speaking, by the next episode. Not to mention the fact that Mandy can warp reality by cracking a smile, which is hard to make happen to be fair, but is even more effective than time travel. Fucking time travel, disgusting. Plus they hang out in a circle of supernatural beings, even knowing Dracula themselves, even if it's not the specific one. But we've modeled that enough anyways. Another effective pool of backup they have to draw from are using the extended Hanna-Barbera and Cartoon Network rosters, which Brandon tried to use as a backdraw somehow, considering they've had some contacts with the likes of Codename, Kids Next Door, Ed, Ed and Eddie, Flintstones, Yogi and
Boo boo, butter samurai boo boo, very, I'm funny. Not to mention the various CN City commercials in between shows. I'd say calling on them to help anyone from Alien X to the Teen Titans is fair game for them if this is going to be some long haul battle of resources and messing with the fabric of reality. Not to mention that Scooby-Doo and no doubt many CN shows have vampires on their own, if not their own versions of Dracula to pull from. Meanwhile, while God and Satan are, of course, potent, Bill and Ted had to die to get in contact with them. Are they willing to do that again? Possibly, but it's a harder thing to rely on! However, there are a few things Bill and Ted could do with their time travel that would be fairly effective. One is reunite Dracula with his wife, Lisa Simpson. Another is actually getting Bram Stoker, Vlad Tepes, and Bela Lugosi themselves to the original creators of Castlevania, which would possibly trump getting any alternate versions of Dracula. This, however, depends on if Bill and Ted are smart enough to look into these options, or if Rufus can bring these up to them. This, again, is more uncertain grounds than a few of Billy and Mandy's options. Ultimately, I have found myself surprisingly leaning towards Billy and Mandy, despite what I initially thought. But I don't completely discount Bill and Ted, especially since they are probably the better duo in terms of quality and taking care of their Reaper. Whether that's actually what they can determine is up to you.
Well, it's time to pack my bags. I think it's clear now that Alien X will come in and save the day. It's been nice knowing you guys. Okay, in all seriousness, I do want to clear up something that's misunderstood. Bill and Ted don't actually have to die to talk about their connection with God, as death is an anecdote of that interaction. And considering, presumably, these are Castlevania monsters standing in for the Billy and Mandy Monster Court, they'd probably align with the people who have connections to the man in the sky.
The Lisa argument not only requires them to know the Castlevania wiki description of Drac's backstory, and even if they did, this could also backfire. Dracula could potentially be infuriated at a pair of human beings bringing his dead wife into the courtroom to prove their point.
Fair enough. Billy and Mandy will win as, like you said, Mandy will be clever and also age make a difference, as Bill and Ted will be confident at winning this court case and will probably not bring their A game. Maybe even pity these kids and just forfeit. But if they don't, then they get pity, then Mandy can just hire people to kill the other side. And since Dracula is a judge, he will accept murder in his courtroom.
I see no problems here. Rock solid as far as I'm concerned.
Wait, the guys trying to create world peace, who are homies with God himself, are selfish little pricks. They're perverts, but they aren't god-awful and irredeemable.
I'd argue Billy's also a perv, like that time he smacked Mandy's ass and got his hands run over.
Bill and Ted.
Alright, I'm gonna do that voice, yeah.
Bill and Ted will at the one having rapid sweetly. What? And you need to have a good talent if you want to be in that show. And they defeated Lord and Quack. Meanwhile, Billy and Mandy have never show, which means Bill Dead will win by default. Although Dracula will epigraph at the victory. The Dracula will know that to be legendary Bill epigraph at the victory. Although I that Bill and Ted would be Duck, Billy and Mandy.
But they lost their epic rap battle of history.
No they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, I'm like 90% sure they didn't.
Well, I'm 100% sure they didn't. Bitch.
I will bet on my firstborn child that they won that rap battle!
Or then you best say bye to your firstborn son, mate. Also, it's almost the end of the video. One last thing. The poll. Seems like the winners of the poll are Billy and Mandy. Seems like my argument of Billy's dad coming to the stand struck a chord with a lot of people.
Even I'd vote for Billy's dad, but I still don't know about the verdict. We should play rock, paper, scissors to determine who wins.
That won't be necessary. I'd say now I think Bill and Ted would win.
Really? What made you change your mind?
Well, I still stand by a good few of my arguments, like Mandy's manipulation helping, the time travel being cancelled out, and bringing Dracula's wife back being a risky move. But I think my biggest mistake was misunderstanding Dracula's ideologies. Dracula appreciating Mandy is a big no-no. He hates humans who are evil, that's why he turned on humanity. He'd for sure appreciate Bill and Ted more, but more importantly, Dracula is a very smart individual. He would for sure approach a court in a civilized manner. He's not some child, he knows that the right to own the Grim Reaper is a big deal, and so I think the legal side of this will play into this. He would see that Bill and Ted earn their ownership of death not only with God on their side, but also without cheating. Billy and Mandy actually did cheat to get Grim. If Bill and Ted are going to go back in time and show anything, I'd say that's what would be best to show. Would you want Dracula going to a duel that would treat him well, have God's word, and didn't cheat to get him? Or the complete opposite? I personally think that Billy and Mandy will be able to put up a fight, and I'd say if it was just the four of them, no help allowed. Mandy is much more experienced in the courtroom, and is just way smarter. Bill and Ted themselves wouldn't likely bring up fine print and stuff like that, but Rufus would for sure.
Well, thanks for doing an actual result and not being like, Ducko! I don't really have much else to add, other than this was a mess. Definitely the hardest, or at least most drawn out debate so far. Court stuff is really confusing, and this hasn't made me want to go to law school or anything, but here's the next chapter of the story.
Dracula ends up fighting in favor of Bill and Ted, but suddenly, Grim splits up into 3 separate beings, each looking a bit different, but still like Grim Reapers. Everyone gets confused, but then realize that basically means that every main party in the case has a Grim Reaper to call their own. Strange, but it works for them. As everyone exits the courtroom, Dracula is the last to leave, but is approached by a strange man with glowing eyes. He says he's acting as an emissary of another entity, and has an offer to make Dracula.
I'm trapped in another dimension, but I managed to get someone to speak through. This People's Court interviewer. I have an offer for you, Dracula.